the agenda for today?
I approve.
All right, got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. All right, does any member have any conflict of interest or apparent conflict of interest in the meeting today?
No.
Seeing none, there's no citizen comments, do we have any?
We do not have anyone on, no one registered to, speak.
Okay. All right, finance report, Karen? You have anything for us?
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yay, awesome. So I do just have a couple things that I kind of wanted to touch on with the finance report, and then I also wanted to give you guys a bit of an update on a couple of things like the RFP that we put out for audit and whatnot. So on the financial reports, I'd love for everybody to just kind of take a note of on the balance sheet, we can see the cash is looking pretty good, especially compared to what the inventory is from this fiscal year versus last fiscal year. I think we're kind of moving in a strong direction, you know, to kind of be focusing on that capital project that you guys are getting ready to embark on. So I'm really excited about that. The health insurance payable down under other current liabilities, I did finish a reconciliation on that, and so I've moved some money up to prepaid expenses, and Bridget and I had a conversation about how you guys have been paying benefits to the town traditionally, and she and I brainstormed a better way for us to do it. So instead, going forward, so we don't have these big variances and big prepaid expenses, the town is going to invoice you monthly for what we actually paid for the previous month. And so that'll probably help keep some of these $8,000 prepayments down. The last thing I wanted to touch on with the financial statement was just the AP aging summary report. We're still having some issues with our payment processing vendor. It's a free service offered by QuickBooks. And Bridget and I, we've had a conversation, well, we've had many conversations about it because she and I both are splitting our time to help kind of research problems and, you know, deal with little issues here and there with this. But so Bridget's going through demos now to find a new payment processing vendor, which I think is going to end up benefiting ABC a lot, especially in just man hours that are spent dealing with problems. So those are the three things I wanted to touch on for the financial statement. Does anybody have any questions about the financial statements or anything I just spoke about? No? Okay.
I don't think so.
Awesome. Okay, so just one thing I wanted to note is the town of Youngsville included ABC on our RFP for audit. I did go through the proposals that we received, and we did get 4 for Bridget to consider, along with the RFP responses you guys get from your RFP. So she and I are going to sit together on Thursday, and I will show her the ones that we got, and we can go over the pros and cons. And I can also give her a copy of my score sheet to utilize for grading the proposals that ABC receives. And the only other thing I really had to talk about was that we're going through training. Bridget's picking up a lot of stuff from me, and everything's going really well. So I think she's going to have the processes and procedures down pretty good for whenever you guys name your new finance officer. And anything that's high level, that person will already understand. So so I'm just pleased with how the training's going. So
As am I, Karen.
Thank you.
I am going to jump off if there's no more questions for me because I have a meeting coming up. So if anybody has any questions for me, you can ask them now, or if you think of any during the meeting, you can get them to Bridget, and she and I can discuss them on Thursday.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you guys so much. Have a good day.
Two. Richard, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just as on the topic of financial reports, there were some questions that Rick brought up, prior to our meeting that I just wanted to make sure that we got the answers out there for everyone. Just around the aging summary, so again, these negatives on here are credits that are due to us from vendors. They, won't issue refunds. We have to take the credits for our next order. So I'm gonna get this printed and, Jason and I are gonna try and work through how we can order against it. There are some that are so small, like $1.30. I don't really wanna order an entire case of something that we don't need for $1.30. If we can identify something that we do want to have and take that credit, then we'll do that, but, and there are, a few others. Cleveland Whiskey is a pretty large credit that we're due. We are basically collecting invoices so that we can take that credit at one time, but we order pretty frequently from them, and I know we have a tasting coming up, so we should be able to take that, credit off of our engaging fairly soon. Oh, there's a difference in net income on the report, for the, July to today report and the July to end of the fiscal year report. That is because, historically, the finance officer has entered all the sales, all the deposits, all the invoices. Finance officer has done all of that stuff, and they did it on a schedule of once a month or bi-weekly. But now that Carrie and I split duties, things are happening daily. So in the past, when the financial report came out for the meetings, the dates were the same on the month date and the year, or the 2 dates and full fiscal year report, if that makes sense. They would have been through the end of the last day of the previous month. The one that is on there now that was through, so this is the budget versus actual, the totals, the year-to-date through June. So it would have been through whatever date Carrie ran the financial report, which would have been February 8th or 9th, probably, whenever she sent it out. So there would have been 8 or 9 additional days of sales and deposits and expenses on this report versus the 2-date one, which would have been through January 31st, this report. So if you notice the difference in net income, that is the reason. So this is through January 31st, and this is through whatever date Carrie ran the report. Any questions on that? Okay. There is a negative in the repairs and maintenance expense account. That is because we had an expense at College Street for a repair, that was last fiscal year. But the landlord did refund us that money, but that refund didn't happen until this fiscal year. So it's gonna sit on negative until we have some repairs to credit that, line item. Just as a sales update, so in January, we did $360,589. We just Central Crossing. In dry January, where a lot of people abstained from drinking, so we had an exceptional month. Our year-to-date numbers as an ABC system were at $3,184,000. Yountville Crossing on its own is at $2,347,000, which is what the ABC system did for the entire year last year, roughly. College Street did finish at $836,000 for the year. So again, we will do our official budget amendment in March, but with our current sales year to date and the forecast that I have in place for the rest of the fiscal year, we are estimated to end the year at $5,277,000. So depending on how this month ends up, which we are beating our forecast so far, that should be roughly what our budget amendment amount is going to be next month for you guys to vote on. In the commission sent out the state sales numbers for January. We were number 50 in the state for total volume number one in the state for comp sales versus last year, at 116%. And I specifically wanted to call that out today because from July to December 31st, our comp sales were an inflated representation because we're showing two stores of sales going against one store's comp numbers. But this January 116% sales growth is a one store comp ratio. So, outstanding from Jason and the team in growing ourselves 116%. So, Carrie mentioned our cash. As of this morning, we have $375,000 in our account. So we are still looking really great in our cash on hand, and we still have not utilized our credit. Yes, that's all I have for the financial.
Okay, thank you. Consent agenda, minutes from the ABC board meeting January 18th. Action requested is to approve consent agenda. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda for my month.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. All right, old business, continue discussion on management services contract between Youngblood ABC Board and action requested this week. Get finalized that for more.
So this should be the meeting where you guys, myself, you guys, Nathan, we discuss any feedback that we have about what we would like to see, what you guys would like to see in our management services contract for next year. And then Nathan and I can take that and put in a finalized draft to go before the commissioners. And then, once they approve whatever that draft is gonna be as well, then you guys can vote to approve our end of it, at the March meeting as well. So in looking at the previous management services contract, is there any feedback that you guys have?
I know last contract is what, for 2020, 24 year, right? Is that right?
And, I mentioned this previously, in looking at a lot of the items on the management services contract, we aren't going to need a lot of those services just with the maintenance, that's covered by our current landlord right now. Lawn care, that's covered under our current landlord's responsibilities. And I think that in looking at the state in which the ABC system was in, when the previous management services contract was put in place, there were significantly different needs in support for us that I have now been able to kind of take over a lot of those responsibilities for us. We have Lila that's been a huge help with HR stuff. Prior to me getting here, when the last contract was really put in place, we didn't have a lot of those things. And I wasn't fully comfortable in the role yet, and we still need a lot of support in our College Street location and just some consultation things. So I think right now, my recommendation to the board would be that we put something in place to maintain services. And Lynn, Ravi are outstanding partners. I think that their services are necessary for us. I don't think anyone of you wants to have to take minutes for us.
No.
I did that last month.
Yeah.
Won't do good.
And then also, maintaining our relationship with the attorney. It's my understanding that it's a flat rate charge to the town based on any pre-trial services that we utilize. So I think we can probably have that at a better rate in having a relationship with the town's attorney than pursuing it on our own.
And the finance officer, Carrie, was originally part of that, too, right?
Yes, and since we won't be utilizing the town finance officer services anymore, that was a big part. Because before the attorney and Carrie were added into the management services contract, it was $1,200 a month.
Okay.
So for an additional $800 this fiscal year, we added in finance officer services and attorney services. Nathan, do you have anything?
No, I think that's good.
So we don't we're not voting on this, do we need to try to run down and, all the number today?
I mean, I think that, again, I'm not sure what the attorney amount would be for the contract services, but, I mean, as far as clerk services for the month, I mean, it should be, I could probably partner with Inland to see exactly, but I'm thinking no more than 6 hours, of working them up for ours.
There's 6 hours just in this room today from the clerks.
With meeting
Between-
only 1 hour.
So it's not just, it's the meeting, it's the agenda packets, it's typing up the minutes, it's maintaining the records, because I do handle most of those as well. So it is just, even if one person alone were to handle it, it would be more than 6 hours a month. But I can work on getting you a legitimate number, but
What is your estimate for the board?
for one person handling it, I'd say at least 12 hours, tops. Some months will be less, but I would say at least 12, between all of that.
Okay. So if we're looking at $23 to $25 an hour over 10 to 12 hours possibly for the month.
I'm not sure that covers our cost for those services, but we can negotiate on the rate if you would like to. I don't think it's appropriate to charge you when we have somebody in a backup, right? I think that's a service that the town can provide. But in terms of compensating Emily for her time, it's more than just her hourly rate. There's a bunch of stuff that goes into that calculation.
Well, and that's great. I don't think that we should be paying more than what her, hourly rate of her in-law salary is though.
Oh, I totally disagree. You don't think you should be paying for her health insurance and all of the other stuff that the town has to pay for?
We're just using the clerk services. She's not an employee of ours. We're utilizing a service. So if we did a 1099 for someone to come in and do clerk services, we wouldn't be paying for health insurance in that capacity.
That's correct, but you'd
Right.
be paying a lot higher than $25 an hour.
Possibly, I mean, and I can look outside as well just to see if there's, something different that we can't come to an agreement on a rate, that we can see if we can contract out for her.
We can calculate what her hourly rate is
Yeah.
based with all of her
Yeah.
benefits and everything included, and I think you're going to find that it's much cheaper than what you can find on the market.
Yeah, we can look at it.
Yes, so why don't we, I think Rick last meeting, we talked about me and you getting together, so why don't we get together with Nathan and them afterwards, and kind of talk about it a little bit more, and hone in on a better estimate.
Yeah.
And then I think we can vote on that and more. So, over y'all, you guys,
Yeah, absolutely.
anybody have any comments?
I think it's 10 hours.
And I think
By the time
Katie
they'll have that meeting.
here if you wanted to
Yeah.
chat with her.
Hi, Katie.
Good morning, everyone. I'm
morning.
definitely here to be a resource for any of your questions about the attorney services as they're currently available to you. And I'm very, very happy to take calls or emails as for issues as they come up ad hoc. I'll go ahead and circulate my contact information to all of you in case you don't have it. But I am also very happy to take that question and answer and discussion offline to, another discussion with Nathan and Rick, if that's what you all want. I just wanted to be here today. I'm sorry I couldn't be here last month for your discussion of open meetings law, but to offer myself as a resource and certainly answer any questions that you might have about legal services for the board, and especially how they work as sort of provided through me through the town.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep me attorney for sure is important, to keep that relationship. All right. New business? Got Big Phil here with us today. You all don't know, he was the previous town manager here in town, so, he's got a presentation for us, potentially be our new finance officer.
Good morning, everybody. I won't try and bore the whole group by giving a short summary of my experience and why I'm here today, but there are individuals that are not familiar with who I am, and so for their benefit, I'll certainly give you a decent summary. So my name is Phil Cordero. I was a town manager here from 2019 to 2021, so for almost 3 years. It was, I think, 2 years and 11 months or 10 months, something like that. So I am a retired Marine, so that's how I began my professional life. I was a logistics finance officer in the Marine Corps for 17 years. I retired, and then I decided to continue my public service in local government. Went to the UNC School of Government and got a Master of Public Administration degree with emphasis in finance and local government budgeting. And then I began my service as a professional in North Carolina local government. I worked as the finance officer for the town of Hillsborough, which is in Orange County, just west of Durham. Have a pretty extensive experience there. They don't have an ABC board, but they have a variety of things, local government finance related, that I helped deal with. Finance officer deals with all aspects of the financial operation of the organization. So when it comes to accounts payable, accounts receivable, payroll, debt issuance, variety of different things, I manage that team. Then the next endeavor for me was to become town manager here in Gunnison. So I certainly enjoyed that experience. Was very involved with the ABC board and its growth over the past several years. I certainly congratulate you on your massive success. I was talking with Bridget in preparation for this meeting over the phone that I was very impressed that in December you had more than twice the sales of all the other ABC stores in Franklin County combined. So that's very impressive. But I was instrumental in helping hire Bridget and kind of emphasizing to the board that I think there is a lot of potential for this organization to give back to the town and to help the town accomplish short and long-term goals. So without going into too much detail, I'm very familiar with the operation of this entity and its relationship with the town as well. I intuit some of the tension in the room when, Bridget's speaking with Nathan and the town, goes back and forth in its negotiations and working with the ABC board, because I understand Madam Clerk over there is a very busy woman, and although I'm sure she enjoys working with everyone in this room, she is at times, probably more often than not, finds a hard time finding enough hours in the day to fulfill all of her responsibilities. So I think the reluctance, if there is any on the town's part, to continue any type of relationship with whether it's Carrie, as finance officer, or Emily, is not based on its unwillingness to work with the ABC board. It's just that the town is growing as well and has a lot of things going on, and we all have to maintain our sanity. So we have to draw that line, and that kind of leads into I left the town as town manager just because I had my firstborn child, my son. He's 1 year old actually this week, and just really wanted to get away from public service to focus more on my family and my practice of accounting. I'm a certified public accountant. In addition to my MBA degree, also have a master's degree in accounting from UNC Chapel Hill. I'm a certified public accountant in the state of North Carolina. I have a lot of experience in local government accounting. The UNC School of Government has a certification program for local government accounting. I do have that active certification, so in order to attain that certification, there's a process you go through, several classes you have to take, and they basically familiarize the accountant with the very interesting proclivities of governmental accounting versus private sector accounting, which are less important to keep in mind sometimes with an ABC organization because it's really a retail enterprise. So, for example, the town doesn't really focus on inventory and a lot of the metrics, financial metrics that you might find important in the ABC enterprise, but there are still certain things that we have to do, like public notice meetings, issuing debt, or getting lines of credit, those things. So I'm familiar with all those things. After leaving the town, basically started my own consulting and accounting firm. I've had clients help Nathan a little bit with his transition, and I didn't anticipate after going through the recruitment that Nathan would need much additional help, and he hasn't. So it's been a short relationship with the town as far as that's concerned, but I think it's just because Nathan Hartford, Elizabeth City, Hamlet, North Carolina, and there's a couple other clients that I've worked with as well, providing accounting, management consulting services. So essentially doing a lot of the same things that I did before, but focusing more on the accounting and focusing more on the interim type work. But the way that Bridget and I had envisioned this role, as I understand the board's current needs are, Bridget would be, and or Jason and or any other mix of team members would be performing a lot of the day-to-day operations as far as like entering invoices for accounts payable or entering in time for payroll, that type of thing. And I would serve as more of a reviewer and approver, so doing more of the high-level things, basically performing a very important function of internal control, essentially, right? Printing the check and putting it in the mail because there's a lot of opportunity for fraud there, right? And so my role would be to, as an independent outside party, make sure that, the internal controls or the processes that we have in place to prevent fraud, waste, and abuse are being followed. And then also to provide advice to the board as it needs advice when it comes to maybe setting up a capital project fund for your new store opening, or, determining how much we need to dedicate to working capital for an endeavor like that, things of that nature. And so that's kind of the relationship that we envision. The contract is proposed. I don't know if you received copies of it, paper copies, but certainly in your board packet. Essentially, we decided that it would take approximately 4 or 5 hours a week, something like that, to essentially review all the products that Bridget or someone else might prepare when it comes to issuing checks or approving time for payroll, that type of thing. And my prevailing rate is $125 an hour. I know that seems high, but based on my experience and qualifications, what the market will bear, I think you'll find that that's a reasonable rate, and I certainly would encourage you to look elsewhere if you don't think that's reasonable. But would be focusing on a max of $1,500 a month at that 45 hours a week, and so with the opportunity for additional work as the board needs it for special projects or other things. So in addition to reviewing and improving all of the processes that we reviewed over the past minute or two, be attending board meetings, preparing financials for the board meetings, ensuring that the monthly reconciliations of the balance sheet and income statement are correct, to the extent that you would meet, Bridget would need me to, or the board would need me to, trying to find answers to issues like why do we owe Randolph Importing $1.30? Maybe we can buy an airplane bottle from them and get rid of that credit. So working on things like that. So without going into too much other detail, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
I'm sure you did a good job.
What's that?
I'm sure you did a good job.
All right.
Just a couple of things that I would like to mention. So we do have another accounting firm that will come to next month's meeting, just to give an additional presentation so that we're doing our due diligence and letting you guys decide on, how we proceed. For this, the rate and the cap and all that, I want just to keep top of mind that I am still continuing to work with Carrie through the end of this fiscal year on finance officer training duties, so that I can continue to take on as much responsibility as I possibly can. So when Phil and I talked about, that role really kind of serving in a review and approve situation, more capacity, I will continue to process payroll. I will continue to do invoicing. I will take on as much responsibility as I can so that we're not paying any more than we have to. And that maximum hours right now is really just kind of sitting at that if a finance officer were to take over right now from Carrie, based on what she's doing, what I'm doing, that would probably be about the amount of hours that we'd be spending. Phil and I talked about after we kind of get our finance officer in place, if he was chosen, and once we kind of settle in exactly what my responsibilities will be versus our finance officers, that we could possibly see on a more consistent basis what the hours per week would be, and then we could settle into a flat rate in the future. But I think that for, our finance officer time, for our time, for Phil's time, for our budget, doing it on an hourly basis right now is probably in the best interest of both parties. Because, if we end up needing them less than the the 4 hours per week, then we're not paying for time that's not being used. If we need him for more, then we're not wasting our finance officer's time. So, just a couple notes when it comes to the contract and the amount and what we're spending.
One of the other things that Bridget and I discussed when we were talking about the potential for this relationship as well, and I actually quoted it in a different way because I think didn't fully understand where she wanted to, where the board wanted to go with this, which is kind of internalizing some of the data entry and things like that. Forgive me for saying this, but I think it's important because a lot of people, I think, look at accountants as certain types of people, and I do view myself as an accountant. I think it fits my personality. I think that, and I think Katie would agree with this from the attorney's perspective as well, that a good accountant doesn't just do accounting. I think it's important to have an accountant that can be a business partner and help you solve problems, right? And I think that that's kind of one of the differences when it comes to myself as opposed to just someone that may not be familiar with maybe these organization or governmental accounting. I say that to say that, you know, if we find that there is a regular need for a service that I don't need to perform, right, we don't need to bill at $125 an hour, right? If it's not a CPA doing, you know, I have other team members that I work with that I can have do certain things like data entry or even clerk services, you know, and Bridget and I discussed that briefly on the phone as well, where, you know, we can amend this agreement to say, hey, you know, for the clerk services, or if we're going to be receiving the invoices and entering them into QuickBooks or whatever the financial system of record is, you know, that type of work we can bill at, you know, $50 an hour or $75 an hour, whatever the case is, if that makes sense. So we can do that with anything, you know, to include clerk services, if the town, you know, just is not able to reach an agreement for whatever reason, and we've discussed many, with the ADC board for the next fiscal period. So, you know, part of, I think, what I would bring to the table is help Bridget work through these things based on my totality of experience. So, anyway.
And because ultimately, in the day, my goal is to help create sustainable processes for the ADC system, that if I won the lottery next week, I'm not going to take care of it. I'll be here until I win the lottery. But that, you know, this board isn't ever in the situation that it was in prior to January of last year, where, you know, there are not interview guides in place or employee handbooks or processes for internal controls, really, and that it's set up for success for any future board members. I mean, our purpose is to serve the town of Youngsville and to provide as much money as we possibly can to them. And I think that, you know, there are things that we can do better so that we can maximize that longer in the future. If we have to spend a little bit more now to establish what we're going to do, but long term, we could continue to exponentially grow the amount of money that we get to the town of Youngsville. You know, one of the services that, you know, Kara mentioned, I've been sitting in with some demos for different accounts payable services, because our situation is such a different, complex accounts payable situation. We're not just paying, you know, 10 or 15 vendors a month, or, you know, people that can do services for us. We're talking 100 to 200 invoices bi-weekly that are being paid. And so there are some services that, for most companies, you pay on a paid invoice, a per paid invoice term, and 80 cents per invoice might sound reasonable to, you know, another small business, but when we're talking about, you know, over 500 invoices in a month on a busy month, that's a lot of money for us to spend in that. But it's also a lot of time. And Carrie's been a wonderful partner in helping me, and we have collaborated so well together to streamline these processes and to create faster ways to do it and better ways to do it. But it's still incredibly time consuming. And, you know, one of the services that I have a demo with today actually is Bill.com, that would allow us to bulk upload our invoices. It allows us to create an approval process within that. It connects to QuickBooks. It's going to be like $50 a month. So, you know, Melio services right now is free, and it's a great free service. And I think for the way that the system was ran previously, that was incredible. But if we can spend $50 a month for something that's exponentially better, I mean, it's worth it in my time and our finance officer's time to spend that $50 a month.
It's a lot cheaper to spend $50 a month than it is to reduce your sales by $200,000 a month.
Yeah, absolutely. So.
Phil, one question for you with the, of course, with the building potentially coming, I'm assuming that 4 or 5 hours is kind of taking in consideration of all the bookkeeping
Now, how much that would add on really depends on how much, you know, you're comfortable and Rich is comfortable doing that work. You know, I can advise and probably get by with very little time invested, just making sure that she's thinking of the right things as she's going through the process, you know, that type of thing. So hopefully that answers your question.
I believe that I am capable of doing a lot of the stuff. But as you all know, I also am very okay saying when I don't know how to do something. And that is I won't take on responsibility that I don't know I can do. You know, even with this training with Terry, I took over payroll first because I knew that in one training session, I could understand the payroll process enough to just take that over. With invoicing, you know, we are probably going to go into our third session now before I fully officially take it over because I don't want to do it and do it wrong. And that's the same thing with the finance officer responsibilities. Per the ABC commission, because we're a one-store board, I can serve as finance officer and general manager with permission from, we could not pay a finance officer at all. But I also know that I don't live in the in-depth detail accounting world enough to be able to effectively talk about balance sheets or spending statements and negative prepaid expenses and finding some of those issues that, you know, Carrie and Phil do have that experience. So I do think it is, and just from an internal control perspective as well, that, you know, it should be in place that we have someone that is reviewing and improving, so that when we go for the audit, so that we have the trust and faith of the public, which we serve, that they know that we're doing the right thing all the time. So, you know, our mission is being transparent, being truthful, and providing the community with as much as possible. And, I think this is another important way to do that. Just because we don't have to doesn't mean we shouldn't.
Yeah, no, I mean, I prefer to keep those two separate.
Yeah.
Rich has learned a great deal about the way ADC systems work and local government finance in her short time here. But when we hired her, when the board hired her, I told her when she started that, you know, one of the main roles that I saw myself fulfilling was just getting her out of jail. You know, it's like, I'll be your government guardrail. You know, there's certain things that you can do in the private sector that you can't do in government. And I'll let you know when you get close to that, you know, line, which is important, but you have to know where the line is. So I think that's another reason why it's important to have someone that has the knowledge and experience necessary to say, hey, you know, you can do that, but there are specific steps you need to follow in order for the ADC board not to slap you when you do it. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
I appreciate it.
absolutely.
Thanks for your time.
You're very welcome.
All right, today, on proposed second ABC store. This is Brittany.
So the property committee, AKA Mason, Rick, and I, we have continued to meet with a couple prospective lot options. We did only have one, but at this point now, we have met with another party just to discuss a few other options as well. I think that we're going to have another follow-up with Jim in a couple weeks. So nothing really exciting to report on yet. Just want to update you that we are continuing to meet. We do have some exciting prospects. Mason was nice enough to reach out to the people that bought the Cubs, our old store that we've got evicted from. And because there are 2 acres behind the store, but they want $450,000 for those 2 lots, which is what they paid to buy the store and all 3. So we're obviously not going to pursue that, but we are working diligently to find the place. And I'm probably bugging them too much every day about what are we doing. So I know that every day we're not open, it's $20,000 or something. So.
Well, and I think we got some of the people that we talked to, and kind of tried to slowly get in and talk with them about trying to get a price. So I think here in this next month, we're going to ask, point blank, ask some of our potential options of, hey, before we get any farther into the woods, what are we talking about price? Because that's going to boil down to everything. If they come back to 46,000, have a good day.
Yeah.
reports on the business. Chairman, one thing, Rick did want the board to be thinking about is next month we need to decide if we're going to do the two payments that, that was briefly discussed in January of the, 24,000, giving that back to the town $48,000. I think back in 2020, before I was on the board, I think the town had forgave the board $48,000 debt that they were owed. Rick thought it would be a good opportunity or option to try to give that money back as a kind of show of good faith. In discussions with him, one of the things I just mentioned, I do think it's a good idea. I'm a proponent of doing that. But one of my concerns, having a construction background and us potentially going into this new ABC store, we need as much capital on hand as possible, especially again, land. If somebody comes back and says, hey, $150,000 for the land. Do we have the funds to do that? Get the $48,000 back right now and still be afoot. So that's just kind of one thing that we need to consider, think about. I think in March, Rick plans on getting a vote or seeing what people think.
So, when are you talking about two $24,000 payments?
So, this past fiscal year, the commissioners voted to forgive the $48,000 debt to the town for the previous fiscal year, as a way for us to have a little bit more cash on hand to open our new store. So Rick would like for us to, even though they forgave that debt to us, and we're no obligation to pay that at any point, he would like for us to give the town a special distribution to say, he's already sent an email to Nathan and Mayor, and Chief Whitley has said we would like a new police car. So, not necessarily us paying it back, but us doing like a special gift to the town in the amount of money they forgave to us. And we paid out into payments this fiscal year, one in March and one in June. But I think that's the thing that Mason, and to be honest, I just want to kind of make sure that we consider is that we can make that distribution to the town at any point that we choose. The only distribution that we are required to do on a schedule is our mandatory distributions for 3.5% our law enforcement and outside education. So our goal is to give the town as much money as we possibly can. But that also might mean that we wait to do the $48,000 special distribution gift to the town until we determine how much the lot's going to be that we're going to purchase, or if we're going to do a construction loan versus a lease to purchase. So just something to consider that I think if we were in a bad relationship with the town and the mayor and the commissioners, and we wanted to repair that in some way, and we wanted to do a special distribution to have a show of good faith that we're here to support the town. But I don't think that's the case at all. I think the mayor and the commissioners know that we are on a different path now as far as a positive path of the town, that we want to contribute, we want to do that kind of thing. We want to have long-term success and to give as much money as we possibly can to them. So.
Yes, my question was, do we think it's a wise idea to consider the $48,000 even in two $24,000 payments in a period of time when we're looking at a large expenditure for a second store? Should we wait until after the store is?
That is something for you guys to ponder over for the next month and to decide and vote on at next month.
Is it something that we have to wait till next month to do?
It's not on the agenda today.
Yeah,
To
we have
vote for, so,
to try to amend
we
the agenda, but I would prefer probably wait until
Rick's back.
Rick's back and have another discussion, but
yeah.
Just think about it. I mean, that's why I wanted to bring it up. That's what Rick wanted to bring it up, to kind of get the board's idea going forward. I definitely think it's something we should do. It might not be next month, might not be June, could be at the end of this year. It's just a thought. But
I don't
think
have a problem with giving the town the 48,000. I guess I've got a problem with doing it
the
this
timing.
year.
Yeah.
That's why I asked about the vote, because
Yeah.
I know right now how I would feel about it.
John, to be fair, I would personally, and it's not my, it's board decision, but I would personally feel better if we did have Rick here as well. I don't wanna speak on behalf of Rick in this situation, since it's something that, you know, he wanted to bring to vote, so, I would
Appreciate
prefer
that.
if we, you know, did have him present,
I
so
can
that
appreciate that.
all 5 members can make that decision, especially when it comes to something like a distribution of that amount. If we were talking about, you know, giving somebody a raise of $2,000 or something, that would be different, but I would prefer for the whole board to be here with us.
I believe that's the only thing Rick had mentioned to me. I don't have anything other than Jason, Bridget, I mean, y'all keep up the work. Again, dry January, I mean, speaks for itself. I mean,
I
was
ended
really- I
up
was
with,
really impressed that, you know, y'all hit, I mean, 369,000 for the month. That's a mess.
I didn't know the thing, and as soon as I started seeing people post that on January 1st, I was like, what is that? What is dry January?
Cut it off. It's always great job.
Thank you.
Coming heavy?
The only thing I want to report back is Rick and I did meet with Bridget and went over her review with her. So her review's been presented. It was presented, a couple weeks before January ended. Her increase has gone through. She did fill out a PAF form. Rick signed it, so we make sure everything's in order and documented well.
Thank you again, Mike.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you for the board.
Don, anything?
Yeah, I have a couple things, but I actually wanted to let Jason go first, because I talked a lot about our numbers and what we're doing, and I've made a few mentions of it in the past couple of meetings about some things we're doing this year, but, I would also like to give credit, because a lot of these ideas come from Jason. He knows what he wants to do, and I am his guardrails now, where I unfortunately have to say no a lot of times for some things, but, I do work very hard to try to find out how we can do something within this program. So I wanted to let Jason share, just some of the kind of focuses that we're having right now and some of the things that we're doing differently.
Yeah, just to give you guys an update, you know, it's a new year, and one of the things we talked about was how are we gonna do better than last year? And we can't rely on things like, you know, having a grand opening or a 50th anniversary or a lottery. I don't know. We don't know what this year's going to bring. So we're just trying to always think outside the box, like we've done for the previous year. So anyway, so there's a few things we focused on starting in January, just to kind of show you where we're at right now. So one was we put a focus on trying to get more tastings in the building. We would love to do a tasting every week. Part of that really relies on the suppliers wanting to do that. And some of the bigger companies haven't been doing it for a couple years because of restrictions for COVID, but now they're lifting that for their employees. So as of right now, 2022, we've already done 5 tastings. We have 2 more scheduled this month, and we have 5 scheduled for next month already. So we're you know, we already have more scheduled than we did all of last year. And the reason we think tastings are good is because it gives a great experience to our customers. It provides something that maybe they're not going to see in other ABC stores. We know Wake County's not doing tastings. We know none of our neighbors are doing tastings. It also builds our relationship with these different vendors, which can, you know, never hurts. It's always beneficial. Another thing that we started doing was focusing on special orders. So just to kind of briefly explain what that means, there are some items the state does not hold in their warehouse, just because the warehouse is only so big. So they have a list of items that can be special ordered by us straight from the supplier. The majority of the public don't even know this. So we have created a system where you come in and a customer can look at the entire list of what's available and go, wow, I didn't even know that many of these products were available. And then they can sign up on the tablet, punch in the code, the product they want, how many they want to order. We'll order it for them. We'll keep in touch with them when it comes in. And it guarantees they have to come to our store to buy this product because we're the one that ordered it, right? Unless you stumble upon another store that just happens to have these products, they're going to keep coming back to us to buy this brand, and hopefully lead to them looking at other things to order. So anyway, currently this is how many people have signed up since we started doing this January 1st, and a lot of these are on order. The red means it's come in and it's fulfilled. We've gotten some great feedback. There's been some guys saying, yeah, I'm going to, try to look for some more, hard to get tequilas or whatnot, from you guys.
And, sorry, that's one thing that I do want to call out is, there's so much focus from boards right now on the bourbon customers, because that's just kind of the it thing right now to do. But if you notice that, not, most of this is not bourbon. They're regular customers that are ordering tequilas and liqueurs and, things that are not bourbon related. So we posted this on our social media, a couple weeks ago, and we already are, having several people that are ordering, not just bottles, but, you also can see that we have multiple cases that people are ordering because they're so excited about being able to get this stuff. So, somebody put a note to keep in stock. Like they said, they don't even want a case or all. They say keep it in stock all the time. So,
yeah.
I think this will be another good. While it may not be as total income big as a grand opening or 50th anniversary, it's going to be these small, $100 to $500 increases that we do out through the whole year.
Everclear.
I was going to say 1.7.
And so this is the actual form itself.
Yeah, as soon as they fill that out, we get an email and we can fill the order. And I think it's gonna build more regulars. And this is not something that no one else can do. Any board can do this, but they're not doing it. So we always try to do what other boards are not doing to differentiate ourselves. Another thing that we're focusing on is trying to do a lot more barrel picks. So barrel pick is when we as a board or maybe a local group of people, like a whiskey club, or I guess an individual could do it as well. You'll visit a distillery and you'll taste different samples from different barrels and you'll find one you like, and then you'll say, I want to buy that barrel. And then they have to pick an ABC board to sell to, so they'll pick us, and then we buy the barrel and they come in and buy the product. And it's a big hit because every barrel is unique, and these whiskey hunters, or I guess you could say, they're always looking for something new and unique and different from other whiskeys they've had before. So it brings in a lot of customers that drive from different counties because they want to try the new barrel pick at Youngsville or whatever. So last year we did 5 barrel picks. This year, we already have one in store. We have one coming next week. We have 4 that have already been picked by a local whiskey group. They've been to Kentucky. They've picked them. We're just waiting for them to be bottled and shipped. While they were there, they spoke to a couple of other distilleries to get us on a waiting list for 2 other brands that are hard to get, but they've developed a really good relationship with these companies to kind of keep us in mind when they come to North Carolina. We have one that's going to be transferred from Franklinton, so that's another barrel. And And then we're constantly in discussions with other distilleries about what opportunities they have. So I just talked with Diageo last week, which is a big company, and they have 5 different barrel programs of 5 different brands. So they're actually sending us 4 different samples in the mail, so we don't have to visit Kentucky. And we'll have the local whiskey club taste all those samples. The point is, we already have more barrels coming in than last year. We're going to continue to do that because so last year, every barrel we had sold out in maybe 2-3 weeks, and then we didn't have a barrel. So we'd love to always have a barrel in the store at all times to give something to show new customers when they walk in and they're looking for something different. So that, you know, we've seen a lot of sales from that as well.
If the board needs someone to go to Kentucky and do barrel for us, I mean, I could probably try to work it out myself, if you guys really need me to do that.
Nathan might need to supervise.
Just keep you in the guardrails.
And, you know, I want to call out, you know, that the barrel picks are something that, again, every board can do, but not every board does. And there are some boards that do them consistently, like what we're trying to do right now. But there are other boards that, you know, one of the local groups that we work with, was approaching some other boards to, you know, try to kind of share the love, I guess, and where they were taking barrels. And, you know, they were told that that board doesn't want those people there. They don't want that kind of business. They just want to serve their locals. And that's their business, but we want to take that. We want to serve our community. We want people to come here for us because we're providing things that they want, and people do want those special barrels. That just because you drink Maker's Mark, it's us getting Maker's Mark barrel, it is a one-of-a-kind still, and the taste profile of it's just someone hand-picked what went into it. So we're getting a lot of excitement around it. There were 2 barrels that we sold out of within, one of them was like 4 days, and one was over the weekend last year. So.
Maybe I should mention why this. So in terms of sales, so right now we have a Maker's Mark barrel in-house. It yielded 230 bottles off the top of my head. 41 cases times 6 bottles, wherever that is. You can do it, right?
250.
Yeah, so 250 bottles. Selling those at $70 a piece retail. Okay, so we have less than 100 bottles left, and we've had it for 2 weeks. So it's a good amount of sales.
What's that retail at?
$70.
$70.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the local market, what, 5%?
Yes.
$3.50 a bottle, extra 240 bottles. That's almost $1,000. That's it working.
Well, the good thing is, these bourbon groups are posting about it on Facebook because we're legally not able to, so they're not only getting the barrels, but then advertising in their groups. See, I didn't even know that link you just.
It's on Facebook. Oh, you don't have
Yeah, on
Facebook.
Facebook.
I keep forgetting you don't. You should create like an Instagram.
I just stopped my wife.
We do have a tablet in the store, so if you don't have Facebook, you can just sign on. We have the page saved on the tablet. You can just open it up and fill it out.
I am, here, let me show this to you guys real quick. It's like in the instant phases, so don't. I, last week, started working on our website. So, Bill, when I first started with my stuff, the town has these like intro videos for YouTube. He reached out to his contact and had this video made for us, kind of as our logo video for the ABC system. So this will be the landing page sort of for our our ADC system. I want it to be dynamic and bold, and just like we are, if you visit some of these other ADC boards websites, they're dated, and we want to not do that. So, I started working on it. I'm not a website builder, so I'm teaching myself as I go, but, this will kind of be what the landing page looks like for us. So, for people that don't have Facebook, I want us to have our own webpage as well, so that if someone's on social media, that they still have a way to access information, events, and things like that.
Did they ever get the, shop and see website back up for us?
So,
Sorry. Oh, yeah.
The mobile app is officially in the Apple Store now, and is functional. So I've been on the, test flight for the last 2 weeks. Every day, Steve Gaskins has been, submit another order, because there's just been some little kinks that we're working out. But I think yesterday, I finally got, the last thing that we were looking out was the confirmation email that you received when you submitted an order. It just said order confirmed, and we need it to say, we've received your order, we'll contact you when it's ready. So people aren't just showing up, and it's a Saturday, and it's a $40,000 day, and we haven't seen their order yet. That was finally fixed yesterday. And now we're just, before we blast it to the world right now, we are at no additional charge because we're part of the test for this, getting a mobile payment device for true curbside service. So, their customers will be able to submit their order, it'll notify the store on the POS, they'll pick the order. Once the order is picked, they'll click a button on there, it'll send a notification to the app on your phone saying your order is ready for pickup now. You'll show up at the store, you'll click a button and it'll let the store know you're there. They'll come bring your order out to the car. There's a handheld device that has IntelliCheck software on it. So you'll scan their ID. It will verify that that ID matches the order that was placed and that they're old enough to purchase. And then they'll be able to swipe their card on the mobile.
Yeah.
She's contacting Westport now and see if you can get, maybe 2 parking stalls with a little sign that says Youngsville ABC,
Yes.
curbside, number 1, number 2.
I asked, that's a good point. I did, ask the landlord about that, right before our grand opening. I've been working on this project with Steve Gaskins since March of last year. So, I did ask them about that, and they said they were amenable to us. Because Food Lion has these really beautiful painted parking spots, but I think we had talked about there was 2 kind of right past bushes that will be out of the way if it's not taking up traffic, high traffic parking spaces, but that we can still use the curbside area. So, I will reach out to this week and maybe see if I get them to give me an email confirmation that they'll allow it and maybe order a sign and put up a parking spot. But after almost 1 year, hopefully, by the next meeting, I will be able to say that we have officially taken our first orders on Shop, North Carolina ABC. So. I did want to, Rick did ask me to bring up, I guess Hunter, you do insurance. So, I am gonna partner with Hunter, sorry, this is the first time you're hearing about this, and Lila, just on, insurance options for us in the situation where if the town were to change insurance companies and we were not, that's not who we wanted to go with, just seeing if there were, different other options. We have really good insurance right now, so, I'm not like looking to jump ship, but, if that were, we just wanna have plan B and plan C for something, so, I will reach out to you Before Donna Herman here, this was several months ago, Rick had just mentioned around us creating some kind of committees to board internal controls on partnering with me, for different things throughout the year. So I kind of put together a list of, for personnel, Lila and I have been working together pretty diligently, but Rick said that Hunter may be interested in, sitting in on some HR personnel type, stuff. So, the personnel committee would be myself, Lila, and Hunter. Operations would be myself and Nathan, and then finance. John, I know that's kind of your background too. You're the treasurer for the Masons. So, I put Hunter, John, and myself in kind of a finance committee that is there, as I'm working through budget, which, I did start on this week, kind of building the spreadsheet, the groundwork for the budget for next fiscal year. So, I'll partner with you guys, as I'm building that, and kind of work on that together as well. And then just around human resource things, a couple notes. I have found some professional development opportunities. Franklin County Chamber of Commerce offered these webinar professional development classes through one of the local community colleges. And after digging around, I did find that we are a member of the chamber, but you don't have to go through the chamber to be a part of these. So I actually registered Jason and Trey for some as well. My professional development has been, an important topic for myself for the past fiscal year and for next fiscal year as well. But that also is something that is going to be part of Jason's annual review, which will be happening next week. And for Trey as well, just including them on different ways to grow their leadership, learn more about the business, finding spares and heirs for how to do things, just so that, something happens and I'm not able to process payroll. Jason knows how to do it as well. So I've already started registering them for those opportunities as well. We did have a team meeting last month with the supervisors in the store that Jason led, just kind of talking about, this is the team that we have right now. This is our leadership team going forward. What are our focuses for this year? What are your contributions going to be? Setting up similar committees for, Kathy is going to really focus in on training and development as a part-time supervisor. Demetria is going to have ownership around operations, inventory, and stuff, just to give them some buy-in into what their contribution is to every day. And that already has been outstanding. Demetria has been scanning inventories and asking me where stuff is, and Kathy has already created two really great team engagement tools just around getting to know the team and helping management get to know the team better. So we're seeing a lot of really good things from that. I actually had an employee from another board reach out to me this past week just asking for support, that they had heard positive things about how we treat our employees and some things that we're doing, and wanted some advice on how to interact with their board around pay increases for the employees. And so I did spend some time this week working with them on that. And they actually are going to come visit with our board, and their chairman requested to just see how, what are we doing, and how are the employees different here versus what they see from other boards. So just a big shout out to Jason, just kind of getting the word out there about how the culture is within the board. And then my last note is just around the RFP for audit services for next year. Preston Douglas, the company that we used the last 3 years, I think, at least last year.
3 years.
3 years, yeah.
This is their final year of the contract.
The rate for them has been $2,000. They informed us this year that going forward, their rate is $4,000. They were going to double that. So I did send out an RFP. The Treasury Department has a list of firms that do audit services for different types of municipalities on their website. So I dug around in there and I pulled a lot of the auditors that serve so they have until March 11th to submit their, request, their proposals back to us. Carrie and I, Don Hunter, can partner in just thinking, you know, my goal would be to choose the best two or three, and then present them to the board for you guys to vote on to choose who you'd like to go with this next year. So that will be the next meeting as well. And that's it. That's all I can say. Anything for me?
Yeah, I forgot, how did the employees like the, raises that they got?
They're super excited. It has been outstanding. Like, we had one employee that, like, I'm gonna cry. So it's a huge thing for them, especially at their level, to go from $10 or $11 an hour to $15, doing that large an increase. But, you know, as I showed you guys, the actual increase per pay period is so much smaller than what we get from people when we're gonna have competitive pay rates here. So they're very excited. And we're getting better candidates too, in the interviews. That like I said, we're looking to hire a few more people. We just brought on 2 more. And, you know, I think just kind of depending on how things go, we're gonna keep our recs open for maybe another week and just see if there's one more really exceptional person out there that we find. But the interviews have been significantly better as well as the candidates.
All right, Ms. Emma, do you have anything?
The only thing I have is the back location is almost ready. We did have the TV up and we're able to use it. We do not have the recording or the video, to record it up yet. We're hoping to have that up soon. It's up to you if y'all prefer to stay in here or if you want to move to the back room. And if after the meeting y'all want to take a putt back there and look at it and see if that's where y'all want to go. But, we'll have the TV set from the ceiling installed between now and next month as well. But that's up to you. If you want to take a look at it, we can switch where we meet and be in the other room as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Have anything?
Yeah, just a couple, kudos to how quickly y'all were able to make the inventory and the cash flow balance out. I know it's hard when you're closing one store, opening a new one, not sure what it's gonna do over Christmas sales, whatever. That hiccup has been taken care of well. The other thing that wasn't mentioned was the special events that you guys have done. I mean, it sort of came up with the lottery or whatever, but I think, having as much attention on how different this ABC store is than all the others is nothing but good. And if you had those 2 parking spaces laid out, I mean, it also may give you a place to have a food truck or whatever when you do some of the larger events that occur at the location. While you're going through negotiations for land, I think there's no reason why you can't simultaneously be running, you know, determination from the board, whether you guys want to do design build or you want to do lease to own or whatever it is that you're going to do for that property. As Phil mentioned, everything takes longer in local government, and it's not that you have to dot the I's and cross the T's, it's that you have to go back and double check that they've been appropriately dotted and crossed. So that's a longer process than I think anybody anticipates it taking. From my experience, I don't see a way that you could possibly spend that $48,000 in this fiscal year and shy of like calling special meetings and moving mountains at this point. That's not to push you one way or the other. It's just it takes longer than you think to do anything for a local government. But if you start moving simultaneous with your looking at your land, thinking about how you're going to improve that land, I think that would significantly increase the speed of it. And then the last piece was that, as we discussed later, the 3 of us, the town is certainly interested in trying to find a competitive rate for you guys. I think you noticed in Phil's contract that his estimated price is the same that the town charged for the year for all the services that it provided last year, right? Or for this year that's going on now. It shows you, 1, that the prices for stuff have gone up, and then 2, that the town has been very affordably providing a number of services to the ABC board. And I think that'll continue to occur, but at the same time, I'm not certain that it's fair for the taxpayers of the town to be subsidizing services to the ABC board. I think it should just be, you know, 1-to-1 based on the cost to us that we recoup for the taxpayers. And that's it.
All right, appreciate it. We don't have any closed session today. Anybody have any other comments before we adjourn? All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion.
All right, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.